E equals why leaders succeed. Welcome to this edition of E3 Leadership Working with Others. Great leaders are inspirational, authentic, empowering, and courageous, and they consistently deliver results. In this discussion, we will talk about how to better work with others. It is critical to understand our own behavioral preferences as well as others to better engage, build trusting relationships, and inspire others to take action. We'll be leveraging a tool called Clarity 4D, which is a behavioral tool created to support clear, colorful communications. You'll notice the helix on the right-hand side. This is a learning helix, and it's leveraged because a helix is never ending, and Clarity 4D is about continuous personal development. Clarity 4D has been developed as a behavioral profile to clarify how to unlock our potential and interactions with others. Where did the name Clarity 4D come from? First, clarity, to be clear. Second, the 4D is the 4 dimensions of personal and leadership development. First, discover more self-awareness. Second, discuss with others how they perceive you. Third, diversify and expand your hidden potential as a result of the feedback. And 4, develop and refine your potential over time. All this is based on Myers-Briggs research by Carl Jung. And as leaders, we should be continuously learning. It's helpful to understand what the various phases of learning are. It all starts with unconscious incompetence. This means we are unaware of what we don't even know. Let's take, for example, as you're learning to drive. When you're young and before you've taken any lessons, you don't even know what it means to drive, what it's going to take. You are unconsciously incompetent. But when you get in the car the first time or you're driving with someone else, you might suddenly become conscious of how incompetent you actually are and what a big deal this is going to be. Next, as you practice and you learn, you become consciously competent at what you're doing. You still have to think about it and you have to go through your checklists until eventually you become unconsciously competent. And what this means is you're doing it by rote. It comes natural. So there's many things that we learn that become natural, but what we want to do is continuously challenge ourselves and think through and get feedback and make sure that we're continuously learning and understanding what's going on, etc. So let's talk about profiling because it's not new. The ancient Greek philosophers started the thinking. Hippocrates, he was the first doctor, and he saw 4 different personality types in his patients. He thought it had to do with bodily fluids and called them the 4 humors. Choleric, which equals yellow bile, sanguine, which is the blood, or melancholic, which is the black bile, and phlegmic, which is the phlegm. Then you had Socrates, who was considered to be the father of Western philosophy, was known to be the man of great insight, integrity, and wisdom. He was always stressing that we had to know ourselves. And the phrase know thyself was written on the wall of Apollo's temple in Delphi. And it was used by him on many occasions. And it really is relevant to what we're doing here with Clarity 4D. It's also relevant to the rest of the work we've been doing on E3 leadership around purpose, value, and experiences. And now we'll dive into the behaviors. Continuing on, we then had the Aristotelian 4 elements, which focused on energies and colors. And this becomes the primary focus of Clarity 4D. First, you have the energies that you can see, air and fire. For air, think of sunshine, think yellow. Whereas fire burns, you want to think red immediately. Then you have those that are hidden, like the earth, the trees, the roots. Think of the color green. And then you have water, which is very deep and methodical. So you want to think the color blue. We have each of these different energies flowing through us. Now, energy cannot be destroyed, but it can change forms. And when we're in our element, we perform at our best. And understanding what those elements are helps better understand ourselves. So first, if we think a little bit more about fire or red energy, it's demonstrated by people who are highly energetic and action-oriented. They are positive, straight-talking, and assertive. They're goal-focused and enjoy the challenge of achieving quick results. They're logical, practical thinkers, and have an objective approach which can sometimes overlook the needs of other people. Next, you have air or yellow energy, which is displayed by people who are outgoing, social, and fun-loving. Think of the sun. They enjoy the company of other like-minded people and are happy to stand out in a crowd. They often enjoy being the center of attention. They are persuasive, charming, and can sometimes overwhelm people with their enthusiastic energy. Next is the earth, or green energy, which is observed in people who are warm and friendly and are understated way. They value close relationships and will be loyal and supportive of their family and friends. They like to create a harmonious atmosphere and prefer consensus to confrontation, which can sometimes make them appear indecisive and laid back. Last, we have water or blue energy, which is shown by people who are introspective and reserved. They like to observe others and think before taking action. They are happy in their company and can be an independent, detached analysis, which can sometimes give the impression of aloofness. All this ties into work that Carl Jung did. He was a psychologist who died in 1961, and he identified that there were 4 personality types, but it had nothing to do with the bodily fluids as thought by Hippocrates. Jung was the one that identified that people have these different preferences for the way they choose to behave. There are 3 sets of Jungian preferences, starting with sensing or intuition, which is how do you gather information? Then once we have the information, thinking or feeling helps us to make a decision. And finally, when we respond to situations, we then have a preference on how we respond for extroversion or introversion. So let's start with sensing and intuition. Everyone takes in information through their 5 senses. Those with a sensing preference tend to stick to those 5 senses and trust what they see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. They're pragmatic and practical and approach things step by step. Sensing is a bit like following a recipe step by step. Everything needs to be in the order. It's like baking. I would relate this to baking. Those with a preference for intuition go quickly from their 5 senses to leap into future possibilities. What can I do with this information? They may start with the big picture and not think about the steps. Intuition may be demonstrated by not reading the instructions on the flat pack furniture. They read behind the lines, and they can appear to be making assumptions. They say the word obvious because it's obvious to them. I equate this more to a chef that's cooking, because it doesn't always have to be precise, but they have the essence of what they're trying to prepare. Next, we have the second preference. How do you make decisions? Do you think more or do you feel more? What would be the benefit of understanding how people make decisions? Understanding how people make decisions help you provide the information they need to be able to make those decisions. And so if you're thinking, you're making the decisions from the head, you want to be data-driven, analytical, objective, logical, fact-based. As far as feeling, you're going to make the decisions from your heart. So you want to be providing information that's more emotional driven, people focused, subjective. It's all about the morale. And this is, some people will be thinking with the head and some with the heart. The last one is, how do you respond to situations? You have both the introversion and extroversion. Introverts prefer the inner world. They create their energy from within. They will think, 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 do, and then think. They really want to be able to understand. Whereas extroversion means you prefer the outer world and they create their energy externally. They're going to do, and then think, and then do again. And they constantly want to act on things. When you're in groups of people, you're going to have both preferences. And understanding, you give the assignment and let people go and think about it first and then come back and present their ideas. Those are those that have the introversion preference, and those that are more extroverted in their preferences want to sit and collaborate right then and there. So it's just how we get our energy is created and how we're able to express it. All this comes together in the color model that you will see in your Clarity 4D assessment. You'll see the introverted is over to the left-hand side, and those are the colors of blue and green. Over on the right-hand side is the extroverted, and that's where you have those energies that are above the ground, so the air and the fire. Then you have the thinking and the feeling. Those that are more thinking with the head have the either blue energy or red energy. And those that are more feeling will either have the green or the yellow energies. And so again, this ties back to what we were saying, that some of the energies are seen, like the fire and air, and some are hidden, like the water and earth, around the introversion, extroversion. So this is all the Myers-Briggs understanding. You know, the sensing and the intuitive comes in all elements of this, so understanding. But these are 4 different colors that you can leverage to start to understand where are your preferences. Again, none of us are branded with these, and we shouldn't be walking around and claiming that someone is, oh, you are a red person. No, what this means is this is where we get our energy from. This is where our preferences are. When we are in a state of fear, uncertainty, we're going to revert back to what our natural tendencies and preferences are. So when you can understand what your preferences are, you can understand how you're going to respond in certain situations. You can set yourself up for success to, if you know that you want to have data, you can let other people know, hey, I have a lot of analytical preferences. So when you can give me facts and data, I'm going to respond in a more timely manner. So hopefully by this time you've received your Clarity 4D assessment. So you've taken the assessment and you've received your report. You'll want to take that report and really read it from, you know, cover to cover, because there's a lot of great information in here. And you'll see that on page 4, you'll get to understand where do you show up and where do you have your preferences. And it will remind you of what those preferences are. And then it will also have 2 pages of statements about yourself that you'll read through and see how many of them, are there any that you go, oh, absolutely, that's me. Or when you look at it, you go, I'm not so sure about that. I want to take another look at that. So you have an opportunity to go through this, share this with others, get other people's opinions on what they think resonates and what doesn't. You're going to learn quite a bit just from reading this and then sharing it with others and asking their opinion. You'll also find other pages in there that will highlight what some of your strongest areas are, as well as where some of your hidden potentials are. And then we're going to take all of this information and learn how to identify it in others so that you can work better in a team and you can share with others on how they can best navigate and work with you in a team. So thank you for your time. We hope you've been inspired and able to be a better leader when working with others. Want more information? Follow us on LinkedIn or at our website at www.e=y.com. You can also email us at info@e=y.com. Thank you.